Chapter 1. The Promise of a New Life. Alexey's fingers trembled slightly as he carefully packed the last of his belongings into the battered suitcase. The worn leather creaked under the strain, a familiar sound that had accompanied him on countless journeys over the years. But this time, the weight of his luggage seemed lighter, buoyed by a sense of excitement and anticipation that had been building for months. Today, he was embarking on a journey that would change the course of his life forever. Alexey, a man from the small city of Vitebsk, was about to travel to the ancient, mystical land of India to marry the woman of his dreams, Avani. As he closed the suitcase and gave it a final, reassuring pat, Alexey couldn't help but marvel at the winding path that had led him to this moment. It had been a chance encounter at a university conference in Moscow that had first brought Avani into his life. Her brilliant mind and captivating smile captivating him from the moment they met. Their courtship had been a whirlwind, filled with long-distance phone calls, impassioned letters, and the occasional stolen weekend together. Alexey had been smitten from the start, drawn to Avani's fierce intelligence, her unwavering compassion, and the way she seemed to see the world through a lens of boundless wonder. And now, after months of planning and anticipation, the day had finally arrived. Alexey was about to embark on the journey of a lifetime, leaving behind the familiar comforts of Vitebsk to start a new chapter with the woman he loved. As he surveyed the small apartment one last time, Alexey felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with the thrill of the unknown. This had been his home for the better part of a decade, a cozy sanctuary where he had pursued his academic passions and built a life of quiet contemplation. But the walls that had once felt so comforting now seemed to close in, a reflection of the restlessness that had been stirring within him for some time. Alexey took a deep breath, his gaze lingering on the framed photograph of Avani that stood on the bookshelf. Her radiant smile filled him with a renewed sense of purpose, and he knew that the life that awaited him in India would be infinitely more fulfilling than the solitary existence he had grown accustomed to. With a final glance around the apartment, Alexey hoisted his suitcase and made his way out the door, locking it behind him. As he stepped out into the bustling streets of Vitebsk, a sense of anticipation and trepidation mingled within him. The journey to India would be long and arduous, but Alexey was determined to embrace the adventure that lay ahead. He knew that the path he was about to embark on would not be an easy one, but the thought of Avani's waiting arms and the promise of a new life together was enough to steel his resolve. As Alexey made his way to the train station, the familiar sights and sounds of his hometown began to fade into the background. The towering spires of the Orthodox churches, the babble of the marketplace, and the laughter of children playing in the streets, all of it receded, replaced by a growing sense of excitement and uncertainty. Alexey's heart raced as he boarded the train, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The engine rumbled to life, and the wheels began to turn, carrying him ever closer to his destination. With each passing mile, the distance between Vitebsk and India seemed to grow, and Alexey couldn't help but feel a tinge of apprehension. What would he find in the ancient city of Varanasi? Would Avani be there to greet him, her eyes shining with joy and anticipation? Or would something else, something dark and foreboding, be waiting for him in the shadows? As the train hurtled through the vast, rolling landscapes of Russia, Alexey couldn't shake the feeling that he was embarking on a journey into the unknown. A journey that would test his very limits and challenge everything he thought he knew about the world. But even as the unease crept up his spine, Alexey's resolve remained steadfast. He was doing this for Avani, the woman who had captured his heart and ignited a fire within him that he had never known. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was determined to face them head-on, with the unwavering belief that their love would guide them through the darkness. As the train rumbled on, Alexey settled into his seat, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The promise of a new life, a life filled with Avani's love and the wonders of India, was a beacon that burned brightly in his heart, urging him ever onward. And no matter what obstacles might arise, Alexey knew that he would face them with a courage and determination that would see him through. For in that moment, as the train carried him closer to his destiny, Alexey felt a sense of purpose and clarity that he had never known before. The world beyond the confines of Vitebsk was vast and full of possibility, and he was ready to embrace it, no matter what it might hold. End of chapter 1.